Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel where I'm talking about books that I've read, books that I want to read, books that I've enjoyed, all the things books. But today this video is called Reads and Resets. So you're gonna get a little bit of books and we're gonna talk about resetting for the year. Specifically because books have changed my life this year. Like literally, if you would have told me that books were gonna change my life, I would not have believed you because I love to read, but I didn't think that, I don't know. Let's just jump into the video and I'll tell you a little bit more details. So a little bit of background is January, I've spent 6 months out of this year not where I live. Little bit of explanation for this is that my husband travels for his job. And so as a family, we are the Casher fam 4. So we travel with him. And that's what we choose to do as a family. That's what we love to do. Let me use y'all a little bit. That's what we love to do as a family is travel. Like I have a letter that I wrote to myself when I was like 24 and I wanted to be married by 25. And I told myself in this letter that I was gonna stay with my parents until I got married. And at this time, I had just left the house. Maybe 2 years prior, I had just left my parents' home, started living with this boy. And I'm calling him a boy because I was a young girl. I was living with this boy and we decided that we were going to be together, if you will. And this is before I met my husband and all the things. And so meeting him changed my life. The first book that he ever gave me, this boy, and I'm gonna call this boy, we're gonna call him Steve. That's not his real name, but I've never dated a Steve, been with a Steve, so this is perfect. So we're gonna call this guy Steve. I was with Steve and the first book that he ever gave me, because he knew I loved to read, was the Bible. And that, we'll talk about that story another day, another time, but that book changed my life, changed my life. And I say that book, but the Holy Scriptures changed my life, reading them. It would be times I was in college at the time at Marion Military, and I would be sitting there trying to open this book of Holy Scriptures, trying to understand what it was trying to tell me, who I am and what is this and what is that. And it was like thous and these and y'all. Let me just say this. It's not for the faint at heart. The Bible is not for the faint at heart, because when I was reading it, I was like, is this Shakespeare? Did Shakespeare write this? Now, if you are a scholar in the Bible, kudos to you, but I was not. And I didn't know that reading the Bible was going to be something that was going to be very, very intense for me. I had read a lot of books at the time. I want to say I was reading Tyrese Gibson's book called How to Get Out of Your Way. I'll put a picture over here because that book was a book that was my first, one of the personal development books that I was reading while I was in military college. And coupling it with the Bible, I was like, wait a minute. I think I want to read his book more than I want to read this Bible because it was hard to read. And I bring this point up because I was staying with a guy who gave me the Bible as a book for me to read. And it wasn't just a book for me to read, but it was something to help me on the path that he saw that I was on at the time. So this is about, maybe 2011, 2012. And so let's jump and fast forward. I don't remember what year it was. I don't want to lie, but me and this guy were living together. And I am still clinging to the Bible. I am still reading the Bible. And the reason I bring this point up is because books have forever been something that have changed my life. So I don't know why at this stage I am oh my goodness, books have been the thing that have changed my life again. And they are tried and true. Reading is just tried and true. If you don't read, I don't know what you're doing. I do kind of have an idea because I wasn't always reading like I do now, but I would say I was watching a lot of television, a lot of trash TV, a lot of trash YouTube, because YouTube is a whole new thing now, a lot of streaming. I was spending a lot of time with my children. I still do, but I was spending a lot of time outside with my children. I was spending a lot of time traveling with my husband. I was spending a lot of time talking on the phone to my friends. But now if you find me, I message my friends a lot. I voice note them a lot, but I also don't talk as much as I used to talk. And I am a talker. That is also why you see me on YouTube. I am a talker. I love to talk. And so let me stay on topic. So I say all of that to say that I am not surprised. I should not be surprised now that reading is changing my life all over again. And I am a grown woman. I was a girl reading, a baby girl reading. I was a young girl reading, a young teenager, a young adult, and now I'm a grown woman. And I am still enjoying reading, and I am still realizing that reading changes my life in different seasons. Like, even if it wasn't the Bible that was like something that I was reading a lot this year, so far, I mean, I have, but I'm going to be completely transparent with you. It's not something that I understand all the way, and it's not an easy read like reading a book. And it's not fictional. I don't believe it's fictional, so it's not like reading a book. And I believe that once I read certain things, that they're going to come to pass in my life. And once I know certain things, that I'm going to be held accountable for them. So if I'm honest, I still take my time to read. And I'm very intentional about what it is I'm reading. Like if I'm dealing with something that I'm struggling with my faith, then you're going to probably see me reading about my faith. If I am struggling with my finances, I'm going to be in the Bible to understand what is it with faith that needs to be transferred to my finances. If I am struggling with raising my children, which I am. So if you're a mother out there, I want to say to you, you are not alone. Children are different and they are human. And I mean different, meaning they are not us, but they are human, and they are not robots. Like, you can't just tell children what to do and they're going to do it. You have to build trust with them, and you have to actually be present in their lives. And there's so many intricate things that happen that I did not know about raising children, that I am learning and I'm growing through, but I am enjoying my motherhood journey because I'm doing it the way that feels good to me and my husband, that feels good to me when I'm by myself with him. It feels good to, and I would say, I think it feels good to my children because they respond very well. There's a little bit tweaking I can do if I'm completely transparent. I can tweak a few things. However, again, let me stay on topic. I said all of that to say books have changed my life and forever changing my life. They're changing my children's lives. They're changing my husband's life. They're changing the relationship I have with my husband. And so I wanted to do this read and reset because these two books, I said all of that to say, but these two books I'm going to share with you, oh my goodness. Listen, these two books. So you could kind of see the other book over here for a second, but I'm going to share that book with you now, where you can see it. Okay, so this first book is called The Neighbor Favor. I'm going to read the back of the book for you so that you can get a slight insight as to what this book is about. And then we're going to jump into my thoughts about it and how this book changed me. So, a shy bookworm enlists her charming neighbor to help her score a date, not knowing he's the obscure author she's been corresponding with, in this sparkling and heart-fluttering romance by Christina Forrest. Shy, bookish, and admittedly awkward, Lily Green has always felt inadequate compared to the rest of her accomplished family, who strive for Black excellence. She dreams of becoming a children's book editor, but she's been frustratingly stuck in the nonfiction division for years without a promotion in sight. Lily finds escapism in her correspondence with her favorite fantasy author, and what begins as two lonely people connecting over email turns into a tentative friendship and possibly something else Lily won't let herself entertain until he ghosts her without a word. Months later, Lily is still crushed, but she's determined to get a hold of her life, starting with finding a date to her sister's wedding. And the perfect person to help her is Nick Brown, her charming, attractive new neighbor who she feels drawn to for reasons she can't explain. But little does she know, Nick is an author, her favorite fantasy author. Nick, who has his reasons for using a pen name and pushing people away, soon realizes that the beautiful, quiet girl from down the hall is the same Lily he fell in love with over email months ago. Unwilling to complicate things even more between them, he agrees to set her up with someone else. Though this simple favor between two neighbors is anything but not when he can't get her off his mind. Listen, really great book. Oh my goodness. Let me just jump into it. So, it's a really great book. Oh my good God, y'all. So 2 things about this book that changed me before I jump into the plot of it, or before I just tell my thoughts about it. 2 things. The first thing is that this is really bothering me, y'all. I got a little desk thing here, and I need to find a better setup because the way this is going is not going. Okay, so the 2 things that were aggravating about this book for me is this. He was unwilling to wait. Where is it? So he knows that he knows who she is, but she doesn't know who he is. And he doesn't tell her. There's clues, you got to read the book, but there's clues that show who she is. And you read it, because I want to say this book, I remember I read this in the beginning of the year, but you get to see both perspectives of kind of like what he's thinking and what she's thinking, back and forth. But oh my goodness, y'all, the communication in this book was horrific. And I may be stretching out on the limb to say horrific. It wasn't good. Like, how do you live next to someone and they know who you are, but you kind of have some hints that this might be that person, but you just kind of going through your life. Because what are the odds? The guy who doesn't live where you live now lives where you live and is your neighbor. So to me, that was hard to like read through. Even though it's a fictional story, I was like, I think this happens in real life. Like, I think that people sweep things under the rug initially, because that's what it was. It was like, and I say sweep things under the rug, but it was like he was not being honest about who he was and who he is. And he let it go on for so long that he was helping her. He was like, I can't say so much, but he was helping her. He was doing things with her. And he wasn't saying, I am who you've been messaging. I am the guy who ghosted you. The ghosting thing was a whole nother thing. And now I have a little soft spot for people who ghost people, because before I knew that I wasn't a good communicator at first, before I started working on that, before I started noticing that, hey, Sierra, the way you say some things could come off a little harsh. Some questions that you ask may be a little bit like too much for people if they don't know you well and your intentions. But I'm saying that to say I understand when you kind of go someone, sometimes some people's intentions are well, they just don't know how to communicate it, and they just didn't grow up like that. So they may not know how to say, hey, I actually don't want to talk to you, or hey, I actually don't want to do friendship with you anymore, or hey, I actually don't want to go out to eat, but I'm gonna do it anyways because I don't know how to tell you I don't want to do it. Like, I understand that, but they're pretty much grown here. And yes, I get it. Some people don't go to therapy. Yes, I get it. Some people don't have other people in their lives to tell them like, hey, this isn't okay. So I'm going to be the sister or the friend who says like, the communication here was not okay. It was not okay. However, the story was still a beautiful story. Some of the things were unbelievable in here to me, because like, you meet someone, I've never met someone. I would say I did. I had one guy that I met when I was like younger, and we actually met over MySpace, and we went to high school together, and then we became friends in real life. And so I've met people on the internet that translated into a friendship, but he didn't ghost me. We actually met up. So like, we actually saw each other in real life and was like, oh, this is you in the yearbook. Oh, this is me in the yearbook. I didn't even know we went to the same high school. So it's pretty cool. But now in the day and age, this is pretty normal. So that is the biggest, juiciest thing I wanted to say about this book. The other things I want to say is I love that the 2 main characters are Black. I love that. I love Black romances. I love it. The other thing I want to say I love about this book is that you actually get to see their their messages. And it's so nostalgic to me, because I grew up in AOL, like, bing, you got mail. Like, I grew up having a screen name. So seeing their emails sent back and forth was something that was just so beautiful to me. I wanted to share these 2 books that I'm sharing with you, because this is Reads and Reset. And these are 2 books, like, I've read lots of books this year. I don't know how many because I haven't counted, but I've read lots of books this year. But if there were 2 that I had to tell you about, this is one. This is one. Specifically because if you are a person who's communicating like this, if you're a person who's ghosting someone, if you're a person who kind of can either relate to one of the other characters, there's time to see someone, to talk to someone, to talk to a friend. I'm not saying go see a professional. If you choose that, that is beautiful. However, just talk to a friend, or even ask your friends questions about, how do I communicate? Like, what do you think when I said this, what were you hearing me say? Because something else I've learned is that sometimes we're communicating things to people that we don't realize that we're communicating. Like, people will say this: actions speak louder than words. But also too, actions that you do not investigate, and you don't say, hey, I see that this is what's going on, can you explain to me what this means for you? I think that's a form of communication, and they can lead to a conversation about understanding the other person better, or understanding what things are. However, you do have to have two mature people who are willing to believe what you say is true as well. So this book hit a spot in my heart, but it also reminded me of old versions of myself. And it was a beautiful story to be read if you can jump into a book that is not, like, the story is a fiction, it's not real. So if you can jump into something like that, I think you will enjoy this book. Yeah, so that is book number 1. Let's move on to book number 2. So this is book number 2 that I want to share with y'all. And I drank water so that I can tell y'all about this book. And I have a t-shirt here just in case I cry, because this book, y'all, was a life changer. A life changer. This book is called Finding Me by Viola Davis. And as you can see, it is a picture of her on the front as a grown woman, and on the back as a little girl. And this book changed me. This book changed me. As I stated in the top of this video, in the beginning of the year, my family and I moved for a little while with my husband to South Carolina. And I was listening to her book on Libby in South Carolina. The reason why that is so big is because she is from a part of, I want to say South Carolina or North Carolina, I don't remember. But my God, her story, if you can get through this book, if you can get through the first few chapters, then I think that you can get through the rest of the book. My good God. Woo! This book. Let me just, I don't even really know how to, let me just read to you how she talks about her book. And I'm going to attempt to tell you my thoughts on it, because I don't know if I'm going to get through this or not. Okay. In my book, you will meet a little girl named Viola who ran from her past until she made a life-changing decision to stop running forever. This is my story, from a crumbling apartment in Central Falls, Rhode Island, to the stage in New York City and beyond. This is a path I took to finding my purpose, but also my voice in a world that didn't always see me. As I wrote Finding Me, my eyes were open to the truth of how our stories are often not given close examination. We are forced to reinvent them to fit into a crazy, competitive, judgmental world. So I wrote this for anyone running through life untethered, So I wrote this for anyone running through life untethered, desperate and clawing their way through murky memories, trying to get some form of self-love. For anyone who needs reminding that a life worth living can only be born from radical honesty and the courage to shed facets and be you. Finding Me is a deep reflection, a promise, and a love letter of sorts to self. My hope is that my story will inspire you to light up your own life with creative expression and rediscover who you were before the world put a label on you. My goodness. And I listened to this on audio. If you have a way to get to the audio version of this, treat yourself. This book is life-changing, especially for me as a Black woman. This book is life-changing. I saw myself in so many other scenarios of like abuse, of like racism, of her relationship with her family, of being afraid as a little girl. And my fear wasn't because I was born in the age that she was born. That's not why I feared. My fears were because I was touched before I was supposed to be. So my eyes were open to things that other little children were not. Their eyes weren't open to those things. I had a different thought process growing up that really made me not like being a child, because I felt like an adult. Like, and what I mean is, like, I understand this now, but I didn't know this then. But I realized, like, some of the ways I acted out, some of the ways that I did certain things was like, my teacher once upon a time, and I'm 34, but my teacher, when I was like in middle school, I got this compliment, and I think it was a compliment. And in elementary school, I got the same compliment. The teachers told one of my teachers, we went to Dolphin Island, and it's like a lab or whatever, like a science lab, and you get to see the animals, and you get to do like touch the animals. It's an aquarium, it's an aquarium. You get to see the animals, you get to, I can leave that just like that. You get to see the animals, you get to play with different things there. And when I got to the aquarium, there was this little boy, and he was a trouble kid in our class anyway, so this was no surprise. But when we were getting ready to leave, the little souvenir part, he was just very like frantically moving around that part, and he was like putting things in his pockets and like shoving around other kids to get to particular items. It was just very combobulated, was like it just all over the place. And nobody else was paying him no mind, because everybody else is looking at the things that they want to grab, and the teacher is paying attention to the kids. And I think there's a student aide, she's doing something with another kid, and I don't know why, but for some reason I just saw him doing this. And when the teacher came up, she was just like, hey, anybody steals anything out of here, you don't want to take anything, we want to be honest. If we take anything, then we won't get to do any more field trips. I love field trips. I love to be hands-on. I love to go see things. I love to be around my friends. My best friend was Chelsea. I remember her name. Her name was Chelsea Likely. And me and her were like buddy. I loved being able to sit with her and her family, and on the bus and talk and chat and eat lunch together. Like, it was just a good time. And so I'm like, I don't want this experience to end. Like, I don't want this to be the last time we get to go somewhere. And so fast forward, he took the things out of his pocket, but what he didn't do, which is I saw, he had something in his sock. And in my head, I was like, if he steals this and we walk out and that alarm goes off, because they showed us what would happen if we stole something. I was like, if this alarm goes off, we're never gonna get to have this experience again. And my little innocent self, I told the teacher, and I wanted my experiences, and whatever I was gonna have to do to keep my experiences coming is what it's gonna be. And mind you, he had gotten us in trouble before on the playground because we couldn't have recess. He was talking during lunch one time, so we had to have quiet lunch. So he had already been on my radar, if I'm completely honest with you. And so I told the teacher, and the teacher was like, well, thank you so much, Sierra, for letting me know. I was Sierra Williams at the time. She was like, Sierra, she's like, Miss Williams, I really appreciate it. I am gonna, get the item from his sock, and I appreciate it. The class will get to, continue field trips or whatever. Because I told her, like, only reason I'm telling you this is because I don't want these experiences to end. Just like I'm explaining it to y'all, I told my teacher. And so she went to him, she asked him, and he was like, no, I don't have anything. Mind you, I am doing something else, but I can hear the conversation. And she was like, okay, well, let's just check and make sure that you don't have anything. So she didn't accuse him. She was very gentle about it. And she was like, well, just in case, let's just check around. So she checks she checks his pockets and gets him to check his pockets. Well, he checks his pockets. She gets him, to check his pockets. Then she checks his pockets. So everything he does, she does it too. And so she's like, well, hey, can you check your your pants and like shake your pants out, shake his pants out. She's like, well, hey, let's check out your socks. I mean, those, let's just say something might have fell in your sock or whatever. And so at this point, I'm like, sir, I hope it's in there, because I don't want to look like I'm just telling on you for no reason, because he was saying there was nothing in his clothes. And so long story short, she found a little, it was like a little dolphin magnet in his socks. It was so cute. It was so gorgeous. I want to say it was about $5. And she ends up just purchasing it for him, and the day goes on. So beautiful story, had a good time. But I say that to say, like, why did I even bring that story up? Oh, how I was as a child. Like, I saw things that I don't think I was supposed to see, if you will. Like, yes, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I always would see a lot more than other people, more in one time. Like, I would always see a lot that I don't think no one else noticed, because everybody else would be dealing with whatever they were dealing with, or whatever the case may be. And there was one time, like, the person that was sitting in front of me, like, I'm just showing you how hyper aware I was as a child. There was like little beads on this child's shirt in front of me, and I was sitting in class and I would like get the little beads off. And the one day the little girl turns around, she's like, Sierra, what are you doing? Like, and I was like, well, you just have these little balls on your shirt and I see them and I want to get them off. And she was like, oh, okay, no problem. But she was like, I just didn't know if it was something on me, like a bug or something. I was like, no, it wasn't a bug, it's just these. And so I would she would let me get the little things off while the teacher was talking. So I would be paying attention to the smallest details of things. And I don't think that was everybody else's experience, or my experience growing up was something that even to this day, I notice the smallest details in things. Like, still to this day, I see things that sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I was supposed to see that. I think I'm supposed to see it. Like, even I'm the person who notices the little child with no parent on the playground. And I will sit there if the parent is walked away or something, and I will stay, just because I'm like, I don't think anybody else is paying this much attention as I am. And sometimes that's been the case where I've helped a child up at the playground because they've fallen, or the parent, like one child, and I'm trying to get my husband to help me, but because it was a little girl, he wouldn't, and he didn't want no problems. But a little girl had climbed to the top of this jungle gym at the park. And with her climbing to the top of it, she couldn't get down. And her parents were off somewhere else playing. And oh my goodness. So here I am, my grown self on the jungle gym, trying to help the little girl. James ends up helping me. But at the beginning, he was just like, as long as you get up there and you can touch her and get her down, that's cool, but we not gonna have no problems where I'm touching a little girl and getting her down. We not doing that. So anyways, I noticed things like that. And just like Viola in her book, she has some very traumatic experiences that also helped her be a great, fantastic actor. Like, if you read this book, to me, it makes sense why she's fantastic at what she does. Because even though some things in her life were horrible, like her conditions of living, like of living were just unbearable. However, she made it through it. And even with her making it through it, she can do so many roles. Y'all have seen her in Woman King. You've seen her in How to Get Away with Murder. She's in what is the other movie? It's another movie. I haven't seen it. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I haven't seen that one. And she's produced a couple of things. So she's a beautiful artist because of the things that she's been through. And I think she's not only because of the things she's been through, the things that she was able to endure, the pain that she's been able to process, because she talks about therapy in here as well. And then the life thing that really showed me that, oh my good God, was that there was one of her relatives in the book was very abusive. It was unbearable almost to listen to the pain that one of the characters went through in the book. And it was hard to listen to, but I needed to listen to it. And it was hard to listen to, but it was a beautiful story of redemption. If you can get through it, it's a beautiful story of redemption. So, and I say characters, but this is a real story. one of her family members was putting someone through a lot of pain, and this person comes around to be a beautiful person. And not only that, you get to understand how he got to the place. And I say he, now it kind of gives it a little bit away, but you get to understand how he got to this place. You get to see Viola grow up and how she was as a teenager, how she is as an adult. You get to see her, you know, her marriage and her differences in marriage. Like, it's just a stellar book. And what else should we expect from her? Like, she's amazing as an actress, and she shows up and does beautifully whatever role she plays. And so to read this book really made me start to think, like, I want to use my art in such a beautiful way. Use my experiences that I've been through and take them and turn them into beautiful, beautiful art. I have done some, but I have a lot of work to do. Like, this book showed me, like, Sierra, you have a lot of work to do. I would like my story to be a movie one day, because it's a beautiful story of redemption as well. And this book, exactly what she says on her sleeve, it comes to pass for me. It says, "It is my hope is that my story will inspire you to light up your own life with a creative expression and rediscover who you were before the world put a label on you." And I'm in this season now that this book was read. I read this book, I want to say we left in January. I don't remember. I read this book in the first half of the year, and I listened to it on audio. I just got this physical book the other day because this is a book I want to go back and revisit, because it reminded me, like, we don't have to go through hardship. I don't believe that. However, when we do go through hardship, and if it shows up, the object is to get through it, and to create beautiful art in spite of it. This book was a life-changing book for me. I can say so much more, but I don't want to give the story away, and I would like people to just read it. Like, if you've listened to any of the book recommendations I've been given as I've been talking about books, this is the book. This is the book. And I'm not even doing this book justice in what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not. This is the book. This is the book. I'm telling you, like, it was hard for me. I don't even watch, like, I haven't been on social this year. As an active participant on social media, like, and this is social media like YouTube, but I haven't been on, like, Instagram, TikTok, whatever the other socials are, but I've been here because I've been wanting to create. And the thing I think I'm getting towards now is, like, being able to create again. So that leads me to talking about this year's reset. I have a couple of questions for you. So if you are here for the reset part, here are the questions so that you can just go ahead and jot them down, think about them as you're listening to me, or even just log off and just go do the questions. So here are the questions. One second. Here is the reset questions. How are you truly feeling? Like, how are you truly feeling? In all honesty, in all transparency, how are you truly feeling? I would suggest that you do a voice note in your phone, or write it out. Voice note in your phone probably be the easiest, but how are you truly feeling? The second question is, what is important to you, and express it, like, in some way. The third question is, how are you making steps towards whatever the things that you are saying is important to you? And what area do you want to improve is the last question. So there's 4 questions. How are you truly feeling? What's important to you, and express it? And how are you making steps towards whatever that is that's important to you? In what area do you want to improve? Or make, like, you know, if there is some improvement, or if you're doing a great job, then it's like, okay, well, I just want to keep doing better. All right. So those are questions. So this is my journal. I started this journal in 2023, and I stopped this journal in 2024 because I had ran out of pages. So this is my journal. Yes, it's looking beat up. So for me, I'm gonna just answer these questions as well. I haven't answered these questions yet, so this will be my first time answering them. The first question is, how am I truly feeling? I am feeling the most healthiest mentally I've ever felt in my life. Like, and I'm going out on a limb to say that. Like, I am feeling the most healthiest mentally that I have felt in my entire 30-something years of living. And that's just what it is. I think the truth of that is I haven't been on social media. And so with me not being on social media, which I decided that this would be the year I would be 1 year off of socials. At the top of the year, actually in December 2023 is when I decided that. And so because I've been off, I think it's just done a number on my mental. I'll make a whole nother video at the end of the year, going into next year, I believe, if I feel led to, because it is a game changer to not be in the murky grounds of social media. And I say murky, social media has great like benefits. But for me, I just know I needed to get off of it. I had like a really bad experience last year where I was in this group and I got kicked out of the group and for asking a question, or like, basically, I'll just say the story here. I was in a group around like finances, and I was raising my hand on the screen and the lady didn't answer me. And I didn't say anything at the time, but I noticed that she wasn't answering. And so she had went through everyone else and did not acknowledge me at all. And I really just had a question like everybody else, or had something to say. I don't remember exactly, but long story short, I had been following this woman online for years, invested in a lot of her programs, and I had built what I thought was trust in her, and like a liking towards her, and tell my friends about this person and all the things. And long story short, once I didn't get acknowledged, someone else in the group was like, hey, she acknowledged this person, and the person said to her like, hey, this lady has her hand up, you didn't see her hand? And so she's like, oh, I didn't see it. And she's like, you go ahead and answer and I'll get to her next. So she goes ahead and answers, and then I'm acknowledged, and I really didn't have anything to say because one, my feelings were hurt, and two, it was, I know in the moment I was wrong because I took it personal, and it wasn't personal. I know that it wasn't personal. Whatever she had going on had nothing to do with me. I know that now, but in that moment it felt personal. And when I know that I'm taking something personal, that's not a dig on that person, that's a dig on me. And I needed to get some help, and I say help, I needed to talk to my therapist, and also I needed to also talk to my husband and process what is actually going on with Sierra, that she cares so much that she is taking something that someone is doing personally, because that's not my usual. And so at that point I was like, oh, you need to sit down. You need to sit down, Sierra. So at the time I did not process it this way, I would say, but now I know like it had nothing to do with me. Like she did apologize publicly, I would say that, and she did acknowledge me, but it wasn't really what she had going on, like what she did. It was the fact that I tried to like reach out and talk after the fact because I just wanted to talk about what had happened. And then there was like a next day, put out the program, next day, this person, I also followed that. The reason I even knew about the program is because I was following them on social, blocked me on social, and I was like, whoa. And it broke me, but it also got my butt together. And I would say something else if I was not on YouTube. It got me together and was like, oh, you need to get it together, Sierra, because this is not something that should break you, and this is not something that matters to you that much that you should be heartbroken by this. And so when that happened, it was a couple of other things that were happening. Like we were having to leave Florida to move to South Carolina. South Carolina is just woo. South Carolina was not fun. I made it through it, but South Carolina wasn't a place I wanted to move to. I am in sunny side Florida, enjoying, and we had just moved to Florida. So we had just moved to Florida, now we're moving away. So there was a lot of things that were piling up. And so mentally that I was like, oh, I am calling social media a quit. I'm calling it a quit. I'm getting off of here. So I think there was just a lot of things. Me and my husband were about to start official like couples therapy at the time. We had worked through, I said this in another video, we had worked through a lot of our trauma. from childhood. And so getting into therapy was going to help us to navigate who we are now, and the woman and the man that we're showing up as now, because it's not the same one that we married. Now, who we are at our core is, but how we were showing up was like, I don't know you. You don't know me. I don't know how to interact with you like this. I had some parenting woes. My kids were not listening. It was a lot of things that were happening, and also had lost my sister. So much stuff that I was like, social media you got to go, because you are not, like, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. So I got off. Y'all didn't ask for all of that, but I just wanted to say that because maybe somebody else needed to hear it. Social media may be the thing that you need to let go of for a little while. Because I will say this. I said I was going to do it in moderation at first. And then I was like, you know what? Absolutely not. So I would trinkle on there a little bit in the end of December. I think up until like my birthday. And I was like, this is just not good for you, Sierra. Like, this is not good for you right now. And there'll be a season that I'll get back on it. I think, maybe. But I also made me start focusing on what's happening in my real life, with my real people, with my real friends. And also to just like helping me to see what matters to me. So this reset, when I ask that question, what matters to you, I share that story so that you can also think about what matters to you. The next question is that I'm supposed to answer is what's important to you? And what's important to me is my family. It is my family. It is my health. It is my mental capacity, and my mental health, my physical health, and my family, and my friends. And friends, those are coupled together. My family and my friends, my mental health, my physical health, and my home. Like, that is what's important to me in this season, and my relationship with God. But I think that's sprinkled in the reason that those things matter to me, because they matter to God. And those are the things I feel like he is pressing on my heart to matter to me. Like, your family, Sierra, like, you want to be, I'll just say this, like, sometimes people have this thought process, and I talked to one of my friends about this, and if she watches this, you know what I'm talking about, friend. That sometimes people will focus outward and be like, hey, I want to be worldwide. I want to, and that's beautiful. And I want to touch the world. I want to change the world. And I want to do all of these great big things. And those are great. However, if you look at their family, and if they have children, what is the state of your family? Like, are you being an influencer to your daughter? Are you being an influencer to your son? Are you influencing them to do things? Or are you impacting them to do things? Are you being impactful in your home? Like, even that, because I'm moving from influencing my kids to impacting my children. Like, that's a huge difference. Like, I'm moving from influencing on quote unquote, I'll say it this way. I am moving towards impacting on these airwaves, YouTube waves, versus influencing you. Like, I don't want to influence you. I want to impact you, where you will go into your life and do something different than what you were doing. You will go into your life and actually think about what matters to you, what is important to you, and express it. And I am expressing it. Like, my family is important to me. Books are important to me. My relationship with God is important to me. Food is important to me, and my health, and my mental capacity is important to me, which is why y'all don't see me on this app a lot of posting. I just repost stuff that I've already did, or I am reproducing very authentic content to me. So these are the things that are important to me right now. The next one is, how are you making steps towards those things? Creating online is important to me as well. Like, there's a lot of things. I'm only sharing what I shared because I wanted to share those, but there's a lot of things that are important to me. But a part of my breathing is creating. Like, how you breathe every day, creating is like that for me. And so creating here, that is important to me. And I'm making steps by sharing online things that are authentic to Sierra, the way that Sierra wants to do them. As far as my health, I am walking. Like, today, We have a very big department store by where we live, and so I walk up to the department store today. My husband walked with me, and I'm drinking my water. I'm eating what feels good to my body, and I am connecting with my people. Like, I'm connecting with my people, and because my health is important to me mentally, I am not, like I said, I'm still restraining from social media, but I'm also making sure to check in with my therapist when it's something that is like very pressing. Checking in with my therapist, having very, very much like deep talks with my husband, reading a lot of books, and because that is what's helping me with my anxiety right now. Like, a whole nother topic for another day, but like, I was very anxious. Like, it's something new for me. So I'm managing anxiety, and because I read a lot. Like, it helps me to stay calm. It helps me to get out of my head. It helps me to, like I said in another video, reimagine. It helps me to also be present to the moment. I am connecting with my children. Homeschool is going well. Like, it is going swell, if I must say so myself. And so we got a lot of, we got field trips coming up, and like taking them to meet other children and stuff. So homeschooling is going well, and so that is what's important to me, and that is how I'm making strides to impacting them. We're talking about money right now, and it's so interesting because there are some other skills that probably make sense to teach them right now, but that's what we're working on, and I'm just kind of adding it into our curriculum, sprinkling it into our curriculum. The next question is, in what area do you want to improve? I want to improve in my communication, which is something that I'm already actively doing, but I can get better and better and better. And my physical health. I want to continue to walk. I want to continue to move my body to the point where it's second nature, and to the point where I am like craving it, if you will, like where it is like like how I crave. There's these mini donuts, y'all, and they're so good and so cute, and I was craving them one day, and so I went and got some for my family. And I don't crave them now, but at the time I was. And now I'm like, I want to crave, just like I crave them cute mini donuts, I want to crave walking and moving my body to the point where at some point I want to start dancing. So I haven't said that anywhere else besides, like, my husband knows, but I want to start dancing. Like, I want to start what is that? I want to start dancing. So and moving my body in that way, and taking my daughter to dance and showing her like letting her have this mind and body thing that's happening, that mind and body connection, to where she will know and always have a mindset to stay in her body. So yeah, that is it. That is the reset for me. I am so grateful that you have watched this video. If you watched it to this part, then you are sticking around, and I appreciate it so very much that you will watch this. Please leave me a comment in the comment section letting me know, like, what is your reset looking like for you? Like, are you going to answer these questions? Are you going to do your own type of reset? And again, the books that I went over today was Finding Me by Viola Davis, and I suggest that you go listen to this book on somebody's audio. And the other book that I talked about was The Neighbor Favor. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am so grateful that you have stuck in here with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.